Essentially, nitric oxide is a signaling molecule, a physiological signaling molecule that's ubiquitous really throughout the human body. And it's almost difficult to tell you what it does because it's involved in so many processes simultaneously. I mean, life would not exist. We know that oxygen is a very important molecule for life, but nitric oxide is very, very important as well. It's involved in so many physiological processes that it's kind of hard to say what it's not involved with. But for example, it's involved in the regulation of blood flow and blood pressure. So obviously if we want to get blood and oxygen to our tissues, then we need to be able to control the amount of oxygen that flows there. And nitric oxide is very important in that respect. It's also, you know, I study exercise physiology, and it's really important in skeletal muscle as well. We know that it works in the mitochondria. It influences energy production in the muscle, and it also seems to have effects on the contractile apparatus within muscle as well, to enable muscle to contract. And you know, it's very important, therefore, for both the delivery of oxygen to muscle and the utilization of that oxygen within muscle. It's produced in at least a couple of different ways, and I've got a schematic, a slide perhaps that might help illustrate that. So if I go to that on my screen here, I mean, first of all, let's go to this slide because you asked about nitric oxide. Well, and I mentioned some of those things. So vascular tone and blood flow regulation, mitochondrial respiration, muscle, we call it excitation, contraction, coupling. So when a muscle receives a signal from a nerve to contract, that's all very well, but that needs to be transduced within the cell to enable contraction. So it's involved in that process as well, but also the regulation of glucose and calcium balance in our body and neurotransmission itself. So nitric oxide is involved in all of those things and more. And it's not surprising, therefore, that we have at least a couple of mechanisms by which we can generate nitric oxide.